Hi, hello, and welcome to Real Coast, where we are less sick than we were the day before. Queen of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I'm using the Rider Waite Tarot because it's what I have. And it's like, so the Queen of Wands was at the bottom. The Page of Wands, Knight of Cups, and Knight of Pentacles fell out in this almost cascade, like it's doing a somersault forward. Or like a Animorphs type. No, I wanted to go looking. Before and after the Seven of Swords, because the Seven of Swords came out in a self read recently. As maybe I should rewatch that one now that I'm like about to talk about it. The Seven of Swords came out in a self read recently as something that doesn't have to be a fight or like something that doesn't have to be a struggle. And so I was gonna look at before and after the Seven of Swords, and then either like the Five of Wands or the Five of Swords or the Nine of Wands as a struggle. Honestly, I kind of don't know what we're doing today. What's interesting is that there is no air here. So the Page of Wands is like desire. The Knight of Cups is an investment, like an attachment in a way. And it's not an attachment to like an outcome, but it would be like the umbilical cord through which the nutrients flow to feed the growing child, to feed the fetus. And then the Knight of Pentacles like moves things in 3D waking world reality. Now, the Queen of Wands is also the one. It's like I increase the brightness of I'm using my like built-in webcam because it's a little dark, and that's all I increased. Like, I didn't do the contrast or anything else because that is too much. The sunflower depends on her for nourishment. So this Knight of Cups is interesting as the I don't have. I'll be right back. I do have. The Knight of Cups is interesting as the connection that nourishes the thing. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Oh my gosh, I found my allergy pills. Only got like 3, but still. I was like, I thought I brought them, but I couldn't remember where I put them. So then I thought that I had forgotten. I will be back in just a moment. I will be back in just a moment. I've been like extremely singy. I feel like I don't know when Mercury went retrograde or what the planets is doing. But there has been some very interesting things going on internally, at the very least. Also, I know I mentioned it fairly recently, probably in a self read. Eight of Hearts and the Three of Swords. I was talking about how, like, my like I'm a Taurus moon and rising, and how like I like to be mysterious or whatever. And but then like my moon and rising are the same, so it's like clock me, I guess. But in another one, fairly recently, I mentioned how like people. I mean, we all make assumptions about one another, right? But because of who I am, how I am, what I like, or how I navigate and operate, it's like I've encountered people who make assumptions about me that like are very logical conclusions. Like it's a like if I eat a lot of chocolate cake, a logical conclusion would be that I like chocolate. But it's like the only chocolate that I like is chocolate cake. Like I don't like chocolate and anything else. Right. And then I was just like I'm such an early Taurus rising and such a late Taurus moon with a Pisces sun in between, Ace of Diamonds. That could explain like the closeness, but the not quiteness at the same time. And then I was like, I'm almost a Gemini moon. Oh, Queen of Spades, Jack of Hearts. Jack of Hearts could be that Nine of Cups energy. That Knight of Cups. The reason why I'm not surprised that a sword isn't here is because this doesn't feel like anything thought. It's desired, it's felt, and then it becomes. Oh, I guess we'll put two on it. Wow. The Joker, the Black Joker, because I think there's the black one and the red one, and the Jack of Hearts are the two cards that were at the top of the deck. Because the Joker is here, it has an energy of flavor, right? Maybe I should do like evens and odds. The Joker is a space for a major arcana. And with this Jack of Hearts, like any face card, it faces both directions. Consciously, it faces one direction. Subconsciously, you could say it faces another. And with the X at the Jack's back, there's an energy that's like, there's a certain amount of, not avoidance, almost disconcern, which could be or could read like mastery over one's like impulses or so like instincts. But here it faces the Joker. What else does this Jack face? Right. And again, it feels like this is the reason why there's not a swords energy here. Nine of Spades, King of Hearts. Now the Nine of Spades, Nine of Swords. Also the Nine of Zones. As the Nine of Swords, you could say because like in the subconscious, unconscious, it faces the Nine of Swords, that could be like let the divine figure out the logistics in terms of like the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, the why, and all that stuff. And with this configuration, it's 5 spades on top, 4 spades on the bottom if you like bisect it, right? The flavor of this Joker, if it were like a major arcana, it would be something like, if it's the magician, then you could say that it would be like this Knight of Cups energy, knowing that whatever it wills, whatever it puts its energy, attention, and effort in and pursues with a certain whatever, it will come to pass, right? It will manifest the thing. So it doesn't have to worry about as much what is or is not, because it can create. If it were something like temperance, right, then maybe it would be something more akin to like determination or endurance or like a steadfastness, where it's like it comes with a certain inevitability. No, I could go for the first major, but I'm not going to do that. In general, you could say it would be some divine aspect that has the power to transcend um, earthly forces. Earthly forces like cause and effect, right? Um, or basically like anything. It has the power to intervene. There you go. To intervene, to intercept, to do whatever. And with the Queen of Wands, it's this energy of like something is relying on. It's like something is relying on you. And what exactly that is, or how exactly we show up for the thing, it differs. Cool. 4K. It was like 4K. Cool. Love it. King of Spades and King of Wands clubs are right next to each other. These cards are bent. Why are you bent? Ace of Diamonds again at the cut with the Nine of Spades now. Also, ooh, 10 of Hearts with the Nine of Spades. From the Nine of Spades to the 10 of Hearts, there's like this dual inversion. Ooh, okay. 7 of Clubs, 7 of Hearts, 9 of Pentacle, or 9 of Diamonds, Ace of Diamonds, 9 of Spades. This part of the deck just. There's this dual inversion that happens here. The first is the spades. It's like you pluck the stems and invert them, and they become hearts. The second one is like this matching of the 5 on top to the 5 on bottom, but there's like a partial retention as this is flipped, right? You retain the top image or the top half of the image of 5, and then you flip it. And so that it would be like 5 on top and 5 on the bottom. And with this being the 9 of Swords, maybe it almost plays into the whole Eight of Pentacles thing that came out last time. That was like, if a lesson is endurance or determination, then success may not necessarily look like a certain result that one attains or achieves, right? Like if a lesson, I think it was the Seven of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles, and maybe something else. Like if we are gaining a certain strength, right? And then it's like the repetition builds that facility or faculty skill. And it's not necessarily like punching a punching bag off of the hook or whatever. Cool. Jack of clubs. Lots of jacks today. Jack of clubs, six of diamonds, queen of spades, six of diamonds. But yeah, there's a doingness in this, and that's why there is no sword. It's one of those like don't think, just do type of things. I guess speaking of instincts, it is a certain instinctual knowing, maybe. And because there is an instinctual knowing, that's why no thought is necessary. Not that we are like unthinking, but you could say we don't have to over contemplate it. All right, I'll give it one more and a cut. And I'm going to look. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look before and after the Seven of Swords. And then also the Five of Wands, Five of Swords, Ten of Wands. The first card that depicts either a battle or a struggle, right? And I'm looking from the top. First is the Six of Pentacles, Justice, and the King of Pentacles. Interesting. The Six of Pentacles, Justice, and the King of Pentacles is extremely interesting because the Six of Pentacles is a card, you can say it's a card of charity, right? And so it almost has a vibe of like giving as much as is needed. Now, when it comes to the King of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles, even the Knight, sort of the Pentacles family, they have resources well beyond their needs. You could say that they have resources well beyond their needs. I feel like if someone needs to be something for a lot of different someones, then they will need more resources to fulfill that, right? Like, not that people are banks, but if like someone were a bank, then they would need enough resources to fulfill their functions as an entity that things transfer through. Justice being the modifier, and I think this is Moon in Taurus. Justice being the modifier on the Six of Pentacles means that, like, instead of things being given as they're needed, it's like things being given as they are deserved or earned, right? And then you have this King of Pentacles. And what's interesting, again, because the Pentacle suit is the Pentacle suit, the King of Pentacles is so well off, like he has no needs. The Six of Pentacles is, it's even with the modifier of it's given to the deserving. It's like to go from receiving to opulence or like abundance so almost quickly, immediately, and readily. That's wild. And then it's almost like I can imagine, like, I guess I don't necessarily have to, but I can imagine someone like the giver in the Six of Pentacles after the receiver becomes the King of Pentacles being like, well, did you even need what I gave you in the first place? Justice had this fiery aura before. Excuse me, Justice had this fiery aura like the King of Swords, where it was like about to stand up with the sword at the ready. But now it sits sort of like contently. Now that justice has been served, now that those that deserve have. Knight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. I know, I wasn't supposed to look. Four of Pentacles. Oh my gosh. This Four of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles combination has been low-key haunting me. I keep seeing it. Maybe I should rewatch that one too. Four of Pentacles, Four of Wands, the Hanged Man, Chariot, the Knight of Cups, Empress, Two of Swords, Ten of Wands, Nine of Wands, Ace of Cups. So I'm going to take both of these as the struggle. The Ten of Wands is in between the Two of Swords and the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is in between the Ten of Swords and the Ace of Cups. I feel like these two together, this Two of Swords, Nine of Wands, and the Ten of Wands, Ace of Cups, it's this like partially not knowing how long someone will have to endure something. But at the same time, it's like knowing that at some point the divine will step in, maybe believing that point to be when someone is like very near their breaking point. And it feels like it just creates and stores tension. Nine of Cups, Death, Two of Pentacles, Page of Swords, Nine of Pentacles, the Magician, Wheel of Fortune, Eight of Swords, Four of Swords, Five of Swords, Nine of Swords, Ten of Cups. Again, Nine of Swords, Ten of Cups. We have the Nine of Spades and the Ten of Hearts. So it's interesting that they followed each other again. And the Page of Cups is after the Ten of Cups. Six of Cups, the Sun, Three of Pentacles, the Devil, Seven of Swords, and the King of Wands. So the Seven of Swords is in between the Devil and the King of Wands. These energies can be extremely similar. They don't have to be, obviously, but they can be. So the struggle here again is this like feeling that we need to hold on for some reason, knowing that when we need it the most, or when we're in the most need, the divine will like step through and almost like believing that we have to walk that line, get us close to the edge. Or maybe it's the knowing that the divine will step through when we need it the most that causes someone to, that could lead us to step closer and closer and closer to the edge, almost to like tempt, not to tempt fate, but to prod whatever that Ace of Cups force is into like motion, right? So it's almost like playing a game of chicken. This is so. The Three of Pentacles is before the Devil, and they're both Capricorn. After the King of Wands is the Two of Wands. So this is Aries and Leo. Leo in the fixed fire of the King of Wands, first decan of Aries, and the Two of Wands. That might be either the Sun or Mars in Aries. I don't remember. There's a lot of fire. Oh well, yeah, duh. Because I went looking. These are the. It was in fire, right? So it's interesting that the struggle is in fire because the Queen of Wands came out at the bottom of the deck with a process that the Page of Wands initiated. Now we see the King of Wands. Like it's something that almost it brings the phrase like God gives his toughest fights to his bravest or strongest warriors. And so and it's a phrase that we use when we find ourselves in a period of difficulty, struggle, or challenge, typically. And it's almost like we need to redefine strength because, again, like with this Justice, King of Pentacles, the six, which is like a minor justice, they both hold the scales. One held by man, the other held by the divine. This could also be a combination of like the divine is using people near you to help you type energy, right? Because they're both holding those scales. But with that King of Pentacles, like the strength of the King of Pentacles, you could say, lies in his generosity, for example. And so the strength that the divine recognizes in someone wouldn't be like their endurance, it would be their generosity, the strength of their heart, right? Their strength of mind, strength of will, strength of character, strength of a whole bunch of stuff. But it's interesting that the Seven of Swords goes from the King of Wands to the Devil. And this, like, it doesn't have to be that fight. I wonder if this would be easier if I just did this. Boom. There's the Two of Swords, Nine of Wands that flanked the Ten of Wands. And then there's the Ten of Wands, Ace of Cups that flanked the Nine of Wands. Again, I could see this working in terms of just like there was no sword card that came out. because it's not something that one has to think about doing. It's something that one can do like naturally and almost instinctively. And so maybe it would be beneficial to draw the line between instincts and what is innate. Maybe that's the line. To draw a difference, to draw a line between what is like instinctive, instinctual, and what is innate, right? For example, it's innate within a fish to know how to swim, but it's instinct for that fish to avoid a predator. This devil energy is something that is innate, something within the nature of an individual that exists outside of the individual, for sure, but is giving something more innate, but not necessarily accessible. The King of Wands is recognized and accomplished. We see the lion on the throne, this almost Chinese dragon energy, or like an Asian dragon energy. The dragons that are like long and slender, rather than the like medieval European winged wyvern question mark type dragon, and the salamander. Again, these are so almost similar. So maybe it comes down to belief. Again, oh, it was just 3222. 3222 is three twos. um, it's almost like it comes down to belief. And it almost feels like what, hairline thin or hair thin? Like the width of a hair is how fine this line is. The King of Wands has an like an innate entitlement because they're the King of Wands. So it's like there's a recognition of a certain innateness, but the King of Wands believes it's because they're the king, right? Excuse me. And in an inherited royalty from birth, someone was born into a certain nobility and they knew at some point they would move up in the ranks, and it happened, right? Their entitlement is based upon birthright. Whereas with devil energy, it's more about innateness, right? So you could say kind of like a human rights, right? Because one is alive, because one is born, because one is who they are, regardless of all of the identities on top of that. Because someone is, it is theirs. So it's a little bit of a again, a little bit maybe of a misattribution where like we misattribute something to something else. With the cards I had left, who is this? The Tower. Interesting. Oh, Ace of Swords was next. Yeah, which is that innate knowing, right? The Lovers with that Knight of Pentacles that's effect. I want to this is what I'll do. 1, Knight of Pentacles. 2, Ten of Swords. And 3, the title card. Bottom of the deck is Judgment. And then over here, all that one on top of the Devil. I'm kind of going to like war it, but with the outcome already being known. So that was the cards that were remaining. Now I will shuffle the cards to come. I guess this should be in here as well, because this was before. Okay. 1 is the Two of Wands. I literally picked it up to put it right back down. Love it. 2 is the Four of Cups. 3 is the Page of Swords. Bottom of the deck over here is the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords and Judgment is an interesting combination. In Judgment, those at rest are called to rise. But especially with death behind this Four of Swords, it's almost like a missed call, missing the call to rise, and so it continues to rest. Behind Judgment is the Queen of Swords. Again, this is so interesting because the approaches are like so similar. Like, because especially from the outside, the energies would look extremely similar. It's like the way to end this Two of Swords, Nine of Wands / Ten of Wands, Ace of Cups struggle is just to like almost demand that it be over. Is to realize that there is no struggle / there needn't be a struggle to make a demand or a proclamation and then for it to be acknowledged. But the King of Wands believes that it is because they are king that they have the authority to issue a decree or a proclamation. And that's not correct because of how the cards came out. The Seven of Swords is moving away from the King of Wands and towards Devil energy. It's because Devil energy knows who they are innately, deep down, that because it's almost like, imagine, for example, that these two energies are one. You have this Devil energy and the King of Wands, right? The King of Wands says, because I am king, I make this demand and decree, and it falls on deaf ears. Because the crown, the authority of the crown holds no weight in this court. But Devil energy does hold weight. And so again, if it were the same individual, it's like they're using the wrong power or they're making a request under the wrong authority. And because it's made under the wrong authority, it's like not acknowledged, right? What's this say? The present is theirs, the future for which I really worked is mine. Nikola Tesla. Okay. This is the bottle that I'm using. The present is theirs, the future for which I really worked is mine. Interesting. With the Knight of Pentacles, the Ten of Swords, and the title card clarifying this title card is very much so in line with that Joker. Not only because we have the Knight of Pentacles again, the Page of Wands, Knight of Cups, Knight of Pentacles, this is what terminated that when there was like the Joker, right? This is that unknown divine force or the unnamed divine force. And you could say that the powers that be have that energy would be devil energy anathema to the powers that be because it liberates us from needing to follow certain guidelines and accept certain limitations, right? But it's what we are like inherently, naturally given, like what is divinely bestowed upon us, right? If our divine inheritance, for example, is like effortless abundance, then it's like we just call in the abundance, right? And so that is devil energy towards like grind culture or hustle culture, or you have to clock in and you have to do this and you have to do all of these other things to acquire money to prove whatever, whatever, and to live that life. And it's like, no, girl, I can just go to my spiritual ATM and cash out. Right. So it's not because someone is the king that they have access to all this money, if we're talking about wealth and furthermore abundance. It's because abundance is their like divine inheritance that they're entitled. So if you invoke the power of the King of Wands to get a few dollars from the spiritual ATM, it does nothing. Because what does title and status mean to like spirit, or like what good does our earthly possessions and what we achieve materially during our lifetime do us after we depart this realm type energy. The Knight of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords is such a dastardly combination. You could say it's like a slow and painful death, but you could also say it's very complete. And the insights that one gains from death, rebirth, transformation cycle this complete, it's indescribable. Not only is it indescribable, it's also wholly sacred. And by holy, I meant to say like personally, but also wholly, entirely sacred. On the other side, with the King of Wands, it's the Two of Wands, the Four of Cups, and the Page of Swords. The Two of Wands and the Four of Cups, especially coming off like here in this energy, this feels like making a demand of one thing, but receiving another. And maybe being a little pouty and like, that's not what I asked for. And then the Page of Swords is this wandering eye type energy. A wandering eye for the King of Wands can be dangerous. A wandering eye in the vicinity, to exist within the vicinity of a King of Wands with a wandering eye can be dangerous because it can be a very covetous energy. And because it's the King of Wands, it will feel entitled to the things that it like covets. And so it can so quickly and easily grow envious, jealous, nasty. Uh, then that's when the Seven of Swords is like true thievery. You know what I mean? The King of Wands orchestrates to create some illusory narrative played out in real time that gets them what it is that they want. or that's the intention. And again, either the crown of wands holds no authority or weight, or there's a lack of recognition. Excuse me. And that lack of recognition is where we get the story of the person who drowned, right? There was like the weather report that was like, hey, it's going to rain, girl. It's going to really rain. You may want to get out of town. And they're like, I'm all right. God's got me. It's starting to come down. There's a caravan that drives through. That's like, hey, we're picking up people on the way out. Like, the evacuation order has been issued, and for a good reason. Like, we're already seeing, like, the water is coming, girl. And they're like, it's okay, God's got me. Then there's the boats, the helicopters, the everything else. It could be that lack of recognition. And with the Page of Swords, again, this wandering eye on the King of Wands, it feels like there's something that the King of Wands is like comparing itself to, or comparing what it's receiving to. Right? And again, if we take strength as the example, this is someone that is strong of heart because they are so generous and so kind. Or mostly generous. Kind and generous aren't necessarily the same. This is someone that's very generous. You can be generous and unkind. Right. This is someone whose strength is generosity. The King of Wands, his strength is not generosity. It could be his ingenuity. It could be a lot of things. Creativity, not necessarily generosity. Not saying that the King of Wands can't be generous, but you don't put a crown on the head of the King of Wands for generosity. The King of Wands, it's like the King of Wands with its own conception of strength. Maybe a strength of ingenuity, right? What is truly ingenious should be handsomely compensated for, right? So anything that the King of Pentacles has, the King of Wands should have even more because it is the creator of the things that does whatever. This Page of Swords, it's like using someone else's criterion, or gauging another based off of one's own rubric, right? Like, let's say that someone is connected to their intuition and they're like, the divine is telling them to do whatever. In order for them to get from point A to point B, like, these are the things that they must do or overcome, or this is the way that their intuition is leading them, right? And then it's like they could look at someone from the outside, it looks like they're at that point B, that they've already arrived at their destination, and they can go, oh, well, like, the divine said that to get from point A to point B, like, this is all the stuff you got to do. And I know that I'm doing it more than they are because they're not doing this at all. How are they already at point B? And again, it's like there's a different, what is innate within one is not necessarily innate within the other, right? So there are certain things that are innate to all humans, but there are also other things that are innate to us individually, right? There could be things that are innate culturally, things that are innate like familially, and it could be because of ancestry in a certain environment or location, that just like with animals, how they can like be born almost like pre-adapted to certain environments. It's the same, like it's carried through the genome, the genetics, the DNA. So basically, it's like, to see the point, the Nine of Wands is like, why am I standing here? Like, waiting for, holding the line for something that, like, they don't even know. But again, believing that when the burden is too heavy, it will be lifted. Cool. Let's get one of these. I think I didn't, I guess it kind of fits here. Ace of Clubs. Interesting. In a fairly recent live, I said that one of the double-edged nature, one of the double-edged things about the like age of Pisces, and I was kind of like going on about it. And essentially, it's that like we're given so many answers to questions that we may not have necessarily been asked yet. There are so many like books and teachings, belief systems, gurus, mentors, guides, ministers, pastors, preachers, holy people that can give us so many words of wisdom. But, and it's very much so like, think of like a cliche that you've heard at the beginning of your journey. Think about your journey. Think about how like the truth of those words unfolded, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like this is what it means. And at the end of the day, it like kind of sort of is that simple, even though getting to that point isn't simple. It's like, because we're given the word up front, or because the information is there, and then we sort of fit the information to our situation, there's something, it's like the process is confounded in some way that isn't necessarily always entirely beneficial. And so, even here with this King of Wands energy, even if the King of Wands were to correctly name the authority that grants them a certain thing, it's like they don't have, there's something missing in the activation of that authority. Or it's like there's a reason why the authority isn't recognized, even if it's properly named. One second. I need to send in a message really quick. Oh my gosh. Can I type? I had a dream the night before last, and I completely missed my lucid cue. I remember the dream. I was like, this is so, I was like looking in the mirror, and like my eyes were like doing weird things. And I'm like, this is so weird. And then after I woke up, I was like, girl, that was obviously a dream. That was your lucid cue. That was your cue to be like, oh my gosh, I'm dreaming. That's fine. Anyway, there's something that's missing, right? In this King of Wands. And so it continues, not it continues to struggle, but, and again, Knight of Pentacles, Ten of Swords, title card. That is a very thorough, it's like it's such a thorough death that makes it such a complete rebirth, right? It's like sometimes we do 20 to 30 to 45 degrees of change and expect for when the bells of rebirth toll, we expect a 180. And we ain't even made it halfway. You know what I mean? Okay. Oh, look, the Seven of Swords and the King of Hearts. The King of Hearts was behind whatever card was at the bottom because it was looking at me. And I was looking at how the King of Hearts was like raising. Well, there's an arm raised. I don't know if the King of Sword or the King of Hearts is raising the sword, or if, hey Holly, how you doing? Or if someone is raising the sword behind the King of Hearts. What I like about the King of Hearts holding a sword is this, like, it could be a King of Swords energy without it being cold. And it can be a King of Hearts energy without it being not gullible, but like taken advantage of. And then the Seven of Spades for the Seven of Swords, of course. All right. I just want one of these, I guess. Ooh. Ooh, okay. Oh, well, we got more than one. Inside the deck, the Queen of Hearts has flipped over. On the side of the title card, we have the Jack of Hearts again. So again, Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Cups, Jack of Hearts. Oh, that was the attachment. The Jack of Hearts was the attachment. It was the thing that we feed the fetus through, right? So if the Joker was the divine force or an overriding force, it's like the authority needs a body to work through, or the authority needs a vessel, needs a channel, needs a pathway through which to work, right? And it's like, let's say there's like a line, there's like a building venue, and then there's like a line to get in the building. And if someone knows somebody, it's like they wait in line to tell the person at the door that they know somebody. And then it's like by the time you've waited in line, the authority of knowing someone doesn't matter because like you still have to wait. And then when they get to the door, the bouncer's like, "Oh, well, you should have came in through the VIP entrance, or you should have let someone know, and they would have greeted you, so you didn't have to wait in line." So, like, there's a side door, there's a VIP entrance, there's a person. That person is the body through which the VIP entrance is the body through which the authority works. The Knight of Cups maintains the connection to allow that body to like exist, or it allows the body to like operate or whatever. So, oh, I know, I've seen them on circulating the Instagrams today, and I guess every time it happens I miss it, but it's kind of on my bucket list, so I'm not too upset because when I see it I want to like be there, you know what I mean? But love that you got those pictures. Wow. So on this side, it's the Jack of Clubs. We do have we had the Page of Wands earlier. The Jack of Clubs, the Two of Swords, the Two of Spades, and the Eight of Spades came out on the side of this Page of Swords. This Jack of Clubs is very clearly and very obviously holding a weapon. There is no ambiguity. And it feels like that aggressiveness speaks to the entitlement of the King of Wands, but also the like true strength, true authority doesn't need to be enforced. And so the fact that like the weapon is raised to enforce that authority almost devalues the authority in and of itself. The two of spades and the eight of spades is interesting because we have the 10 of swords on the other side. 2 plus 8 is 10. But the two of swords and the eight of swords, the two of swords we see up here, by the way, with the nine of wands. Oh, I didn't even notice that. The nine of wands has taken off the blindfold. Both the two of swords and the eight of swords are blindfolded. And again, there's something misattributed, there's something that is not seen. And with this jack of clubs, there's something that is trying to be forced. What is innate requires no force. It's just like, it just is. Right. So now I'm looking at this Six of Pentacles, Justice, King of Pentacles energy again. Because of this, there's something here that reads as known, right? Like maybe someone already knows what is innate, but they haven't invoked that authority for whatever reason. Right? Take it as it resonates. This could apply in any like arena and aspect. So, like, let's say for an example, one reason why someone may not necessarily invoke a certain authority is maybe they're like, it's an undercover boss, or they're flying under the radar, intentionally flying under the radar to try to get an honest reaction from, or a true perspective of a situation or of a person. And it's like they knew that if they came in with full authority, then it wouldn't be accurate because of the perceived eyes that are observing someone, right? If someone's boss comes in, they're going to work different. It's very likely, it's not unreasonable to expect for someone to work very differently under the direct supervision of their boss rather than like if their boss isn't there. And so it's like if the boss wants to know how they really work, they do the whole undercover boss type situation, right? It could be that, it could be someone that's wanting to explore like different sides of themselves or whatever, right? Like, let's say someone has the authority to take the VIP entrance, but they're trying to like just be one of the regulars. And so like they want to wait in line and they want to have the whole like non-VIP experience because everything they do is VIP. It could be that. And now that I mention it, like there was a short from a movie question mark that I saw the other day of it was like this job interview, and the person who was doing the hiring pretended to be like in need to evaluate if the people that they were interviewing were like opportunists or if they were generous, right? She pretended that she was being shocked on this electric fence, And she had like the insulating gloves, and then she had a stack of money. And she would be like, "Help me." Two of the three people took the money, and they were like, "Sorry, I gotta go." Well, the first person took the money. The second person took the money and the gloves. The third person like gave the gloves, helped them, and refused to take the money. Right? And maybe that's why originally there were no swords. Again, because once we start to think, once we start to rationalize, once we start to use logic, it's like it muddies the water. Because like now it's logic and not authority. I don't know. Anyway. Ooh, ooh. I almost put these two of diamonds, three of diamonds, queen of diamonds, king of diamonds, and 10 of hearts. Again. All right, let's get final cards. Oh, the jack of hearts is still here. Two of spades. Four of diamonds. Was that the ace? Ace of clubs again at the bottom. All right, let's put this away first. Ooh, there's ace of spades. There was a king of spades, maybe. But it was like king of clubs, eight of clubs. Also, the king of clubs is obviously eight of clubs, king of clubs, seven of clubs. This is a demotion. And again, it's like in trying to force something that was already happening, in trying to speed up something that was already moving with considerable velocity, there's like this demotion that happens, and then the seven of swords is right behind it. It actually introduces more interference, which makes the thing go slower, if not halt completely altogether. And again, it's just like clear. There's no ambiguity. At least with the King of Hearts, it was like ambiguous whether the King of Hearts was like holding the sword. There's something to be said of subtlety, I guess. But it's not just subtlety. It's almost that like I've seen people, I've seen stuff where people will be like, true wealth is quiet. Or they'll be like, you can tell who like really has money or who recently came into money by how loud they are with their money type energy. And again, it's something that like it works against that authority or it slows things down. I don't know. It is innate. And because it's innate, there need not be any struggle. Because it's innate, there's nothing to like wait for. And that doesn't necessarily mean that something happens instantaneously. But again, with that Joker, the forces are different and they behave differently. Five of Wands. Maybe it's like in that Five of Wands squabble, it's hard to differentiate like one person from another. It's like when the cartoon fight breaks out and there's that dust cloud and just like arms and fists and weapons or whatever flying around there. You can't tell or see one from the other. All right, cool. Two of Wands and the Hermit at the front. Nine of Wands and the Hermit. Who is this? Some cards that remained on the table for the Nine of Wands to be seen. Final card, please. This is probably one of my cards just fly. Seven of Wands. Sorry, Seven of Pentacles with the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck and the King of Pentacles behind that Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is so fast and fiery that he easily burns the very seeds that he's planted and cultivated. He undoes his work. He works against himself. And it's like there is something to be said for when excitement, like when someone is uncharacteristically like excited or uncharacteristically like rushed, it's like in that they could behave in a way that they wouldn't necessarily. And so something may not be a true indicator of like who they are and what they're about and how they like handle their business. But it still leaves an impression. And so it is almost this, I guess, a message, you could say a warning, to not let impatience undo one's work, especially as things are nearing a fruition or a completion or as things are maturing and ready to harvest. Some fruits harvest after you pick them or pluck them from the vine, some don't. And if it doesn't continue to mature after it's picked, then it will forever be underripe or overripe or just ripe, I guess, until it starts to rot. So I don't know. Who knows? That was whatever this was. Thanks for stopping by, Holly. I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey and way you find. And I almost like hope you many returns. I hope you many returns on the work done, on the time, energy, blood, sweat, tears invested, on the everything. I wish you many returns upon that. But also, I guess, remember that many returns upon zero is zero. I don't want to end it like that, but again, there's something about, or maybe it's in like the knowing. There's something in the knowing that can speed things along, or that can guarantee something, even if it doesn't speed it. Again, just like there are many different kinds of strengths, there are many different faces and aspects of the divine, and any one of them, any number of them, could be intervening, interceding, um, moving and operating. And Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this one unfolds, I guess.